On today's episode, we've got Randy Beckes. He's our lead ELP, that's Electrical Line Worker Program, the Lineman Program instructor, helping us build our apprenticeship program, build some of the stuff that we've got going on here. Super happy to have you by here today, Randy. I'm a little bit in shock because you've got so much experience in the industry. I know that I don't. I come from a marketing background, but here at Utilitrain, it's just been incredibly valuable to have you around here. Did I do a good enough job at the introduction?
You did.
A very
Nick.
brief introduction because,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I couldn't touch on everything you've done for the industry and especially for Utilitrain now. So
I appreciate it, Nick. Hey, thanks for having me here with this, and I'm always thrilled that I can share a little bit of history of where I came from and what I've seen throughout the years.
okay, so I briefly talked about your history. Where have you worked and where did you come from? You're a little bit of a unicorn in the industry because you've got so much experience in the field and then with training, education background. Let's start back at the beginning. What was your first step into this industry?
It was back in September of 1977. Just about a week prior to that, I was going to the University of LSU in Baton Rouge. And I was out on the campus. It was on a Tuesday afternoon, and I was walking back to my vehicle, and I noticed a line crew working on the campus. And it was a local utility company there. And it was a huge crew. It had 9 personnel on the crew. It was a climbing crew on distribution. And what they were doing was installing transformers. And I stopped by. I was just, hey, that's pretty cool. Seeing guys in hooks climbing and doing their work. I had no idea what they were doing actually. But I stopped and actually started talking to a general foreman. And this is on a Tuesday afternoon, and I asked a series of questions to him, and he was telling me his livelihood and what he did throughout the years. And in 1977, he had been with the company almost 40 years. And so that takes it way beyond back in history a little bit. And talking to him on Tuesday afternoon, Thursday morning, I was applying for the job for the utility company. And I started just about 5 days after that conversation working with the local utility company then.
So that bug bit you quick.
It bit me real quick. Now, you know, when I first started, I started off as a laborer for the company and actually cleaning the right-of-ways for linemen to be able to get to these posts and locations. In Louisiana, the terrain is a little different from Kansas. We have a lot of swamps that we had to deal with and right-of-way issues, and especially the growth of the right-of-ways. But that's where I actually started, swinging the bush hook and cleaning a path for a lineman to get to that structure.
So what led you into more or less like a training type role, or was this something that happened kind of organically? Or
I always loved teaching, and actually I went to college to be a high school football coach, and also a math teacher. That's what I went for. But prior to that, even in high school, I mentored to a lot of kids growing up. I grew up in an orphanage and in Oklahoma City, and there I found myself in high school teaching to younger kids on the campus there as well, on the orphanage. So, looking back and talking to a number of people, I've always enjoyed teaching. And I never thought that it would lead to what I'm doing now. And there's a lot in between now and then as well.
Yeah. So during your time down Louisiana, you got into the industry. took some of your experience with education, with teaching. Do you remember a certain point where you said, this is what I'd like to do is teach in this industry? Or
when I started off with the utility company in 1977, we were having a lot of major accidents, not just within my company, but outside the company, of hearing a lot of accidents happening. And then in 1988, I had a close friend of mine that was injured terribly, and that was kind of a driving point at that point for me to get in training and try to make a contribution at educating linemen and keeping them safe to work out there. And again, looking back, that's when I took the training position, was in 1988. And actually my first training position, I had to leave the utility I was working for and went to work for the co-op system in Louisiana. And that's where I did a lot of I guess you would say, learning as a trainer. I worked for a organization that really put a lot of trust in sending me out to do training among 14 co-ops throughout the state of Louisiana. So that was kind of the beginning of it right there. But the main thing was that I was seeing a lot of injuries, and I wanted to help make a contribution to head off these accidents and educate linemen as much as possible.
Okay. It's just fascinating to hear, like, especially with somebody who's been in the industry for so long,
right?
How it all kind of got started. Like, what was the inspiration? What was the first few steps in that journey?
Right. And that was the steps. That was step one right there of many other steps.
So at the beginning, kind of as you started getting into it, and especially towards the training side, there's many different aspects or many different pathways that you could have taken. I know a little bit more about your history than most people do, especially people watching,
Sure.
watching this little, these little clips, this little episode.
Sure.
What made you go down the road of high voltage transmission? Was it because of incidents, or was it because of there was just a massive need there?
Yeah, when I came up in 1977, of course, we were having a lot of issues at that point of demand, which is good for us in the utility industry. We couldn't build the substations and transmission distribution lines fast enough back in 1977 in the area where I came up at. And so anyway, with that, once I got into the utility industry, I found myself, and I had a great superintendent. I had a superintendent that would put us, he kind of had a 4-year plan for each individual. And what he would do would place you, like year one, he'd place you on a transmission crew for 6 months. And then, the 6 months after it was over with, he'd put you on a distribution crew. And then from a distribution crew, maybe to the service department. So we were on a rotation constantly for 4 years. And when I got to transmission, I always was fascinated by the rigging, what rigging it took to get these structures built, and be able to go out and build these lines. And we didn't have the technology on what we got now. Things were a little different back in this day in 1977. But transmission, in 1994, I left Louisiana Electric Co-ops and went back to my old company. They wanted to hire me back, so I went back and worked with them all the way up until 94. But that was in training, and where I represented close to 1,200 employees for that utility company. And then once I started that, I found that I was more fascinated with, like I said, the transmission. So I left in 1994 and actually went out on my own and started doing consulting And I landed a contract with TVPPA up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is a great organization. They represent 160 companies throughout the Tennessee Valley, which was really big for me.
Oh yeah.
And then there I did a lot of training for that organization as a consultant for them. And then I had another opportunity that actually opened up in 2000, helping starting a lineman school in Trenton, Georgia. And what a that was an adventure alone by itself for a couple of years.
Kind of like our adventure we're doing right now, but
absolutely. Right. Yeah. This is actually my second school helping and start. And so actually, even though this was distribution, I was actually kind of missing the transmission portion of this. So I helped to get the school up and running there, got it to turnkey where we wanted it, and then I stepped aside, left, and got back into the consulting world. And lo and behold, one of the companies that major in hot sticks wanted me to come on board with them temporarily because they had one of their trainers had some illness, and I took his position I thought just for a few months, but it was 7.5 years. And that's where the transmission came in, where I really enjoyed it.
Got back to your love, yeah.
Going back to something I really enjoyed, number one, teaching again, okay, mm-hmm. and teaching live line and barehanding. And so I've worked voltages on doing that all the way up to 765 kV. So from anywhere from 69 kV all the way up to 765. So, what a great, and that's another step in an adventure as well, too.
Yeah.
Working with the company that I was working with, I actually traveled almost 39 countries. And actually it was a problem solving for me with the companies, because they had issues that they wanted to address when I was there working with them on how can we change out maybe insulators from a helicopter to utilizing hotline tools and trucks to be able to change out all these insulators and so forth.
Yeah. So you said 39 countries?
Yeah, 39 countries.
What was the most interesting job you actually did in one of those countries, or was it just the most interesting trip, I should say?
I think I had a kind of a touching moment on one of them. I went to Indonesia and working with Lineman in Indonesia. And it's PLN. That's who they are. It's a government company there. And actually, there was one day I was working on a tower. It was a 230 kV tower. And they were some boys that was sitting on a like a brick fence across a canal from me, and they came out every day watching me. And but I noticed when they were watching me, when I started climbing, they started singing a song to me. So I asked one of the linemen from Indonesia, what are they singing? And they're singing a prayer to you. I said, man, that is awesome.
That's pretty touching.
Yeah, right. But I noticed too, Nick, they didn't have shoes on.
Yeah.
They were barefoot. And now right across the canal where we were at, it was not a really neat place. It was rough looking there. And I noticed that these kids came out of there. But I noticed they were barefooted. So what I did was I arranged for lunches. They brought out lunches to us, and I asked them to bring some extra lunches, and so I could help feed these boys, because they were out there the whole day watching us. And they came over barefoot, and I remember on a Thursday afternoon, I told them, I said, look, I won't be here tomorrow, but I gave them a little bit of money to go buy some shoes. And when I came back Monday, they were sitting on that fence again, but they had their brand new shoes on.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, that was one of the touching, nothing to do with line work.
No.
But where line work takes you to in different places and different training and so forth. And that was a memorable time for me.
Right. And you never really know. Like, that seed that was planted when you stumbled across the industry or stumbled across the profession, you never know if years from then they decided, hey, or they remembered that one moment, that time, and
Right.
decided to get into the industry. It just goes to show you never really know
Right.
who you reach out to, who actually sees what you do and decides to move on it.
Now, these young men may be doing line work now, you know. Yeah, you're right, because,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, just touching people and, you know, just people watching you, just like this right here. And, you know, working with linemen, you know, of course, where I was at that point, too, Indonesia, the linemen were really, really good to me. But it was a pleasure training those linemen as well, too. But I've trained linemen all over the world. But that was a memorable time for me. It always will be for me. Yeah.
So I know you fairly well. You love to travel the world anyway. I mean, as for work or for hobby.
That's right.
I know that you just got back from Ireland not that long ago.
Yeah,
You've been on
right.
cruises. You've been all over the place. How much does the industry change from different parts of the world? Like, are there parts that are doing better? Are there parts that could be improved?
You know, they're making improvement throughout the world, of course. You know, as an example, we'll go back to Indonesia. They were in the process of wanting to build more generation stations in Indonesia, nuclear being one of them. And so many people are there in Indonesia, the load demand especially as well, too. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity throughout the world. Sure, I've been in places where it's a little bit slower. Technology is not there quite yet. People are just getting their lights in some places I've been to. In some parts of my travel, you know, I've seen maybe some locations a little bit ahead of us here in the United States.
That was going to be my next question, which
Right.
was, is there a country that actually surprised you how advanced their systems are, advanced their training, their even materials or the equipment is?
Yeah, one of the locations was in Australia. I got to go to Australia several times, and the New Zealand area as well too. They're looking at Australia and their procedures and processes and building their plants and transmission distribution. I thought they were doing a great job at it, and something that I wish that I could see partly coming here as well too. And I'm not saying that we're behind technology. We've always been in front of technology, and the construction standards that we have here in the United States. But looking on the other side of the world, that would be one of the locations that I've seen.
I say if we aren't in front with technology, we just say that we are.
Yeah.
USA, USA.
Right,
you know?
yeah. And, when I traveled too, especially, working for the company I was working for, I was there to help solve problems and help them to gain experience and knowledge and education and everything. But, it was always, I had many, many questions asked to me, and people really looked up to us here in the United States as well, too, being a leader of the industry, especially in the transmission and distribution industry as well.
So, hearing you say leader in the industry, especially with the United States, but I'm going to bring this back to Utilitrain and what we're starting to do with our electrical lineman program, our safety programs, specialty programs, our CDL program. But don't want to forget them. They're doing amazing stuff with getting people into the trucking and transportation industry. So, with these programs being developed, we've also been working on our apprenticeship program. It's something that we definitely do want to do. We want to focus on actually making a 4-year program for linemen.
Sure.
How's this going? How's this process going? I don't know nearly enough about it. I'm kind of the marketing guy. So
Well, when we look at Utilitrain, of course, I've been after the owners of the company. I've been working with the owners for well over almost 14 years prior to this. And, I wanted to somehow convince the owners, hey, there's a need here in the mid-Atlantic area, this portion of the United States, that there's an opportunity, especially with the population that we have here. But also, there's a lot of load right here and a lot of utility companies in this area as well too. But I saw a need, and talking to the owners, finally they contacted me and said, "Hey, we're ready to go with this." Now this is 2 years ago, and so I was just really excited. Another adventure for me, and helping them create a program here is certainly been I don't want to say it's challenging. I knew what the need was as far as what, a first-year apprentice needed to be able to gain access into a company where a company could be interested in them. I knew the subject matters on what needed to be taught to those guys and gals, okay? And I wanted to create a program that was a little different from other schools, okay? And so we did it. It was created. We're in our fourth class now, and we tuned it up. We'll constantly tune this program up, but the electric line worker program is on its way now, and I can't be more pleased than seeing what I'm seeing now, and seeing the companies that come here to recruit our guys, and going through the curriculum with them. And then, of course, once our guys are recruited, then we hear back from them. We're hearing good things. Oh, these guys know the material, they know the equipment, and what a level groundman should know. And that's what we want them to be. We want them to start off at a level groundman area or level 1 apprentice.
Yes.
And let them grow with that company. And sure enough, we created that program, and very happy. I know the school is real happy with the program, and we're looking forward to many other classes in the future with the ELP program. Now, for the apprenticeship program that you were asking about, the apprenticeship program, we're hoping in about, I say, by the end of 2025 in December, that program is going to be ready. That's what we're shooting for. We're going to have 40 different type of modules inside of this program. It's going to be approved through the Department of Labor here in Maryland, and with a stamp. And hopefully we'll have other stamps contributing to that as well too. I want this program, once we become eligible for it, to be accredited through the state and the national accreditation as well too. There in Washington D.C. And that's my goal, to see that all the way through until we can get it approved.
Sounds good.
Right. I am really excited. It's going to give an opportunity, not just there's a few programs out there, and which I would never criticize any other programs. I think every program's important, Nick.
They're all necessary.
Yeah. All these other schools and community colleges.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think everything's important. I'm looking forward to seeing Utilitrain be right on the top of choice. Hey, here's a good apprenticeship program, and we're going to promote it, market it, and I really believe it's going to be a successful program.
So you mentioned schools. Cecil County Public Schools actually just did a summer program. Lots of fun, young guys, full of energy, more energy than we know what to do with sometimes.
Right.
Between their junior and senior year, we're able to come and spend their entire summer with us.
Right.
They had a day or so off after they left school, and then they came here, spent the entire summer, 7 to 5, and then had like maybe a day or so after before they went back to school in the fall. This program was different in many different ways, but I mean, we had to remove our CDL program because they're too young. They can't get their CDL anyway.
Right.
But these students learned more than just line work. They learned more than just the ground hand position. Tell me a little bit about this.
These, looking back, over the years, I have trained thousands of linemen throughout the country and the world. And when Utilitrain came to me and said, hey, we've been awarded a special class, a grant. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is great. But when I found out they were junior and seniors, I looked back and I said, man, I never trained such young guys before. Most of all the guys that I have trained are 18 plus years old. And now I have a group that's coming in as juniors and seniors in high school. And some of them just got into high school, and I'm thinking, well, how can I take this course? It's a 15-week course, and I need to condense it to 11 weeks, and which we did. Normally on the ELP program, we'll teach Monday through Thursday. Well, in this class, we taught Monday through Friday, and with a limited lunch break on top of that. And let me tell you, Nick, it was the best experience of my training career to be able to train young men. And let me tell you, I had the full attention of 13 individuals that whole class.
Yeah.
And what a pleasure. They actually brought youth back to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I always feel younger when I'm out there with the younger guys, And I get excited about that. A lot of conversations I've had with Utilitrain on that class. I thought it was going to be a difficult class because they were so young. But I think the younger, getting them at that generation, man, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Because they left high school on a Thursday, and they're training with us on a Monday. And then at the end of the training session, they left us on Thursday on a rodeo that we had, and they're going back to school on Monday. Their whole summer was devoted for them.
Yeah,
and
I've talked to some of the students that actually graduated after that. I've talked to them since they've moved on from the program, and they didn't really know what to expect. 3-4 weeks in, they're still wondering, what am I doing? But 6-7 weeks in, they started to realize. And that's when we started hearing back from the parents who said, you've changed our son's life. They didn't have any sort of direction. They didn't have any sort of plan. And now, they're waking up early. They're beating their parents downstairs and eating breakfast by the time their parents are up. And
right.
They were just it was like shock and awe of what this program can do. And as I was saying, it's not just the line work.
Yeah.
They started to excel, and they grasped that as the summer went on. Yeah. But the work ethic, the motivation, the encouragement, and the inspiration for all of us.
Right,
not just the class, but for us as an organization to be able to see the changes being done in real time.
Right.
To see the confidence that these young people have. And we got the video actually playing up on the screen right behind us.
And then mom and dad's just, coming up here telling us that, hey, thank you. And especially during the graduation. I had so many parents come up to me and tell me exactly what you're saying. And, being a trainer, and it's my passion, Nick. I love working with linemen, but working with these young men has really been just awesome. And now, we're a matter of just a few months away from June when half of the class is going to graduate from high school. we're going to start working with them on career planning and strategies now, and introducing them to some of these companies that are coming to visit us. And they're just still a major part of this school right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And
yeah.
next year, the same way. In June of next year, in 2026, that will be the end of them.
Yeah.
But, our goal is to educate and provide not only for them, but our customers that come to recruit from us. And I can't wait to see these guys, this year and next year get some opportunity for some jobs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So some of the students that we've had graduate here, not particularly to the summer class because a lot of them went back to school, but in classes since then or before then, we've had them say, hey, I'm going to go get a brand new truck. Well, they have.
Yeah.
We've had already 2 trucks come back here where they went out and bought their dream truck.
Right.
And it's I know it's something material. It's not something it really drives a lot. It drives a lot of young people.
Right.
But that material possession, that goal, that milestone that they've hit in their life, there's been other students who've went on and helped provide for their family. And
right.
that type of motivation to better your community, better your friends and family, and
Absolutely.
And it can literally change lives.
And that's what our school's based on.
Yeah.
Especially here in this community, we're going to make a lot of lives different for this community and helping them, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I know.
I can't wait to hear many more stories that are like the stories that I've already heard, and we've only had this little small sampling of stories so far, but that's the part that I love.
Right.
I love being able to tell a story, being able to put together video and fancy pictures and whatever, and try to create a narrative that lets these students understand, and I'm talking about our current students and future students.
Right.
They have this life-changing opportunity.
Yeah.
And this school has the ability to do that, to change their life.
Absolutely. And that's what I told the guys last week, meeting with this particular class here. I had a talk with them on Thursday of last week and just tell them, hey, you never know where this career is going to take you. I would never have dreamed that it would take me to where I'm at now and what I experienced, this last 47 years. And just traveling the world, the only drawback on it was I wish I had my wife with me the whole time on that. But I chose the career, and she travels with me now, and she was a great inspiration for me in my career as well too, Nick.
Yeah.
She helped me grow as well too, and terminology and lineman. She knows shotgun sticks and clamp sticks and all this other stuff. So
she knows more than I do.
But having a spouse as great as Sally. She just, you got to have that support as well too,
100%,
to do
yes,
what we
100%.
do out there.
And that's another thing that throughout the industry, not just at Utilitrain as a school, but throughout the industry, they need that a helpmate. They need somebody there to be able to help them through the.
Right.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where you're away, 3
Yeah.
4 weeks at a time, and then you're able to come back.
Yeah.
Having that strong spouse, friend, somebody there to be able to help you on that other side,
Right.
that's absolutely critical.
It is. And but I look back and seeing how linemen have worked and earned what they got, a great livelihood for the family, and the family, a lot of the family members know when that lineman goes out to work a trouble, that there's a lot that goes with that. I remember leaving on trouble calls, and my wife would check in with me just to make sure I'm okay. But there's a lot that comes with it as far as being away from home. But once you get home, oh man, and seeing how this can provide for a family, as
that
well.
money
too.
helps.
It
is what you're
does.
saying.
Livelihood helps quite a bit.
That money that comes, the paychecks that come, definitely help smooth some of that stuff over.
That's right. So those 2 trucks that you saw was a contribution to that.
Yeah.
And and that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
We want to see the success
Yes.
of a story, and that's what I'm interested in too. I'm like a storyteller too, in a way. I love telling other people's stories, and history is so important to me, especially at the time of my career, and but hearing successful stories is gratification then. It's like leaving your legacy.
Yeah.
Somewhat, and our legacy is Utilitrain here.
Yes.
And we want them to say, hey, that school that I went to 40 years ago changed my whole life, and hopefully they're telling a story to a youngster or a young lineman
Oh, absolutely.
at that point in their life.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
the most important lineman, that joke has been bouncing around for a little while now about, there's a better lineman out there, that stuff. But there's also an analogy of high schoolers wanting to play professional sports, and there's only a small little percentage of them that actually make it through to the NFL, or they even make it through to college.
Right.
There's only a small percentage that make it to Major League Baseball. There's an even smaller percentage that actually become good or are making that money,
Right.
the making the big payday in
Right.
sports.
That's right.
But in the utility industry, there's an opportunity for a student to come to Utilitrain, learn the trade, get into a contractor, put in some time, and actually make that type of money. And I'm not talking about the Patrick Mahomes type money.
No,
I'm not talking about
no.
Tom Brady or any. I'm just saying like third string quarterback on the New Orleans Saints. They're going to make that kind of money.
Sure.
And all it is, the chances of them making that type of money is hard work. Show up on time, put in your time,
Right.
and you're
right.
going to make pretty good money.
Sure.
So the percentage of those students that actually get to that point, though, compared to I'm going to go play for the, whatever,
Right.
they're going to go play for some professional sports team or even a league.
Yeah. Yeah.
The chances are almost microscopic.
Yeah.
Versus the trades.
It's funny you bring this up. When I took a job in September of '77, I played high school football with a buddy of mine. He was a good friend of mine, and he played for a college in southern Louisiana, and then eventually he was drafted to go to a professional team. And he ended up getting up there, and he was like on the second, third string in kickoffs, but he hurt his knee. And that's what we're talking about. Once back in the 70s, of course, the players were not getting as much as they're getting now. And so he needed a job. And so I helped him get a job at a co-op in Louisiana. And until this day, he's still making that type of good money. And he has 3 daughters that have grown up and got married since then. But it led to good things for him, and it led a career for him. And you're absolutely right. What the linemen are making now is nice versus what we were making back in the 70s starting out. Although we were making a lot of money back in the 70s, and then the money went a long ways
The
back
money's
then.
a little different, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
the money's
yeah.
different. But good gosh, look where it led to for a lot of linemen. A lot of linemen that I grew up with now are retired.
Yeah.
And being at my age, I'm 68, and being at my age now, I look back, and it's amazing what the linemen now are making, and what they can afford, and for their families and so
absolutely.
forth, As an example, I was out in Texas and working with one of our customers out there, training live line, and they were telling me, oh, yeah, we're working 7 days a week. Every once in a while, we'll get that Sunday off, and we can take the Sundays off if we want. And they were knocking down so much money per year. It was amazing. A lot of them had their families with them, where they traveled with their children if they were homeschooled, and which led to a good opportunity for their families to be near them, you know. But you know, a lot of linemen that I know now are retiring at 55 and have a nice nest in front of them as well for livelihood.
Healthy pile of cash sitting back there.
Right. And that's one of the things, you know, we do here at Utilitrain on our career planning strategies. We have a investor group that comes in and talks to our guys. They're not trying to sell them anything, but they're telling our guys how important it is to save money. And so that's one thing that we do for our career planning strategies here, is help them with that. And kind of turning their heads a little bit. Hey, if you save now and save that overtime or whatever money you can save and put it back and invest it, you're going to be millionaires when you retire.
Yeah.
And true.
And
yeah.
with that amount of money, when you say millionaires when you retire, there's a lot of people that are interested in this industry or interested in getting into a job in the trades that can't even fathom going and buying a new refrigerator. They can't imagine a monthly payment on a car. And what we're talking about is, in a career like the electric utilities, working as a lineman, you could be making enough money to be able to put some of this away. And, you know, that rainy day happens.
Yeah.
You know, the fridge, fridge dying on you, and you're in a panic trying to figure out where to put your food.
Right.
That kind of stuff happens.
Right.
And as a lineman, yeah, I mean, you may work 2 or 3 weeks straight, but when emergencies like that happen, you've got a little nest egg that you can dip into to cover those emergencies.
That's right.
I mean, I know I'm kind of speaking from my own history here a little bit. There's times like that where it's tough, you know, and the time gets tough. There's going to be people out there, and you know, you're going to be that one person in your family who your parents are bugging you about your brother who's a doctor and your other brother who's a lawyer, and you know, and you're going to be the guy who's like, yeah, I work with my hands.
Look, I've worked with linemen.
Yeah.
I remember just a few years ago, I was in a bucket with the lineman on some 345 kV out in Texas, and lineman was telling me, you know, I always ask him questions, and sometimes we get personal with each other and ask about our families and so forth. And this one particular kid told me that he loved line work so much that he left college, and he was going to college to be a doctor. Yeah. His mother and dad was a doctor, and when he told his parents he was leaving to go to do line work, they were upset, of course, that, you know, they wanted,
imagine, yeah.
You know, they already they wanted him to be a doctor, and he flat out told him, he said, "Look, I want to be a lineman instead of a doctor. I love being outside. I love working in the conditions and the adventures out there as well too." And the funny thing about it was, he had made so much money 5 years prior to that. He bought his grandfather's company, a trucking company that hauled corn.
Yeah.
And now he owns a trucking company with a bunch of trucks, but he's still doing line work.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's opportunity to invest.
Oh, absolutely.
And save money, but also, you know, the most important thing is to take care of your family and family members, you know, and your livelihood.
It's kind of sad how often you hear that story of somebody who's interested in the industry. Maybe they aren't going to be a doctor, but they're, you know, 18, 19, 20 years old, and they have to go talk to their parents about becoming a utility lineman. They want to be a lineman.
Right.
And why is that talk so difficult still?
I think the perception is this, and we've been recognized, and I wish they would have not done this. Of course, it's a serious job. It really is. And being serious, it's a dangerous job. I don't like to use that word, but there's high risk at doing what we do out there. We were at one point ranked 10th in the country as the most dangerous job. The media got hold of this, and then before we knew it, it was being communicated through television and communications. And but when I'm teaching guys and working with guys out there on training sessions, I tell them, this is one of the best jobs that I've ever had, meaning being a lineman, as long as that we respect electricity.
Yeah.
Long as you think out there and think some steps in front of you when working with electricity. I would hate to work with gas. It's just I'd much rather work with high voltage out there. And so in all of our training sessions here at the school here at Utilitrain, one of our top priorities is safety. That is the top priority for us here. And we go through many, many scenarios with the guys in safety, from wearing rubber gloves to fall protection, and training them on how to use that. And we tell our guys, we want you to have a great career, and you're going to have a great career as long as you respect electricity and follow the rules and policies and procedures out there, and you're going to have a great career and you'll retire.
All right. I got to check this camera real quick because I have a feeling it stopped recording after a half an hour or so.
Have we been here a half hour?
Time flies. So we can probably come close to wrapping this up.
Okay.
That camera will continue recording. So
okay,
we can probably come close to wrapping this up. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today. I would absolutely love to do this again, do another talk, maybe switch the topic up a little bit, talk a little bit about safety, talk a little bit about the need for training.
Okay.
We kind of touched on it a little bit with that there's absolutely a need. This is a dangerous industry, but it's only as dangerous as basically those companies who just don't do training.
Right.
They just say, heck with it, let's just do what we got to do to get things done. But the companies that do actually invest in their training have happier employees. They have safer employees.
That's right.
They have less incidents. They have lower insurance rates. They got all this. And
Nick,
Yeah.
I've seen this too.
Yeah.
I've seen it where linemen will make comments. Hey, they got you here training.
Yeah.
That's what they tell me. And when I hear that, the linemen are always wanting training out there. Not just to sit in a class and sit in a chair for 8 hours or 10 hours a day, but they're wanting to learn.
Yeah.
And then once we get out in the field, they're excited about learning what they've learned as far as academics in the class.
They get to apply what they've learned.
That's right.
Further their livelihood, provide more for their family, for their friends and
right.
Their community.
And you hit it on the nail about keeping employees, that are happy, and as long as we can keep feeding good training quality programs to them, that'll also help the company as well too from accidents.
Yeah.
And keeping away from accidents.
Training is challenging. It's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. It's supposed to get you to think about what you're doing. Before they get out to a specific job or a specific task, we want to ingrain that training into them so that when they go out there, they can apply it.
That's right.
And that challenging, as far as being like a challenger mindset, is we want it to be difficult.
Right.
Because if it was easy, anyone would do it, and it honestly wouldn't do anything.
Right.
We want them to struggle a little bit in the training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Well, Nick,
that's all the time we got today. So,
well, thank you very much. It's a great opportunity. I appreciate you having me today, and
thank you, Randy.
hopefully we'll have some other. Well, you're welcome, and I'm hoping we have some other good sessions too.
Absolutely.
There's a lot more I can talk about.
Oh, I bet. Well, thank you very much, Randy.
Thanks, Nick.